I'm in beautiful Scotland, home of ancient castles, bagpipes, and the Loch Ness Monster. Woo! And although we all know Nessie isn't real, the love for the incredible produce from this magical country very much is. In this episode, I'm going to be experiencing the buzzing food and drink scene. From the breathtaking Highlands to the surrounding Scottish Islands. I'll be tasting my way around and meeting some incredible characters along the way who are cementing Scotland as one of the finest gastronomic destinations in the world. And I'm going to kick off my Epicurean trip in Scotland's second city, an often overlooked gem. Now, lots of people, when they think of Scotland, would think of Edinburgh, but Glasgow deserves to be really high on people's lists. Ouija's are some of the most hospitable and funniest people on the planet, and the food and drink scene here is phenomenal. There's loads to explore, so let's get started. When most people think of Scotland, they'll probably think of whiskey, and rightly so. Scotland has the largest number of distilleries and some of the most iconic on the planet. In fact, Scotland alone produces 90% of the world's single malt whiskey. So we're kicking off our journey in one of the great temples to whiskey and one of my all-time favorite pubs in the world, the Pot Still. The Pot Still is an iconic family-run pub at the heart of the city centre. It's been around since 1867, but nowadays it's owned by an old pal of mine and legendary publican, Frank Murphy, who's known for giving the world's best hugs. Oh, good to see you. Always so good to see you. Yeah. And with over 1,000 whiskies on offer, what better place is there to start?
So, darling, how are you?
Hello, beautiful.
Good to see you. What are you having?
Need a half and a nip, please.
Okay.
I've pretty much come off the train to here many a time to come have a nip and a little catch-up, actually. It's the beautiful thing about being here.
Not often enough, but always fun.
I know. Cheers, brother. I think it's one of my favourite facts about here that you were once ranked the top restaurant on TripAdvisor for the best pies. Proper Scottish pub fare.
There's a restaurant we go to that get bumped down a place because we got to number one. I had to actually go and apologise. I didn't go back for a couple of weeks after that happened. Just to kind of...
But give us a bit of background. You have this with your sister Geraldine.
So, I worked in my dad's pub until my dad fired me, which was... so eventually I had to make my own way. And that's how I ended up in here.
It's legendary for so many reasons, but I do think it is the magic of being able to just come in here, feel looked after, and feel like you're in a family spot. I mean, it's a beautiful bounty of whiskey, but it's the way that your team, you make it all so accessible.
I'm quite chuffed that I've probably got more people into whiskey in Glasgow than maybe in another bar, which is a nice thing. It's especially when you walk in and you kind of maybe a little bit overawed.
And I think it's the magic of a traditional Scottish pub, that you sit in the corner, you'll end up with a conversation with somebody.
Whether you like it or not.
Exactly. But it creates those bridges, and that's what sharing a dram is all about. And I think here does it so perfectly. Scotland has a natural larder, boasting some of the best ingredients you'll find anywhere in the world. Its climate means you have this incredible produce all across the country, which is why the Scottish culinary scene is so rich. I'm here to visit what I think is one of the finest restaurants in Scotland, if not the UK. Fallachan is owned by chef Craig Grosier. He's creating the best in modern fine dining. I want to learn how he's using incredible Scottish produce in experimental and forward-thinking ways. So good to see you.
Okay, man. Hey, things.
Wonderful. Good. So excited to be in.
Good. Thanks for visiting our humble abode.
Well, I figure I might as well be useful while we're getting things set up, right?
You want to do some prep?
Yeah, let's do that. Then I can catch up while we're doing it.
There you go.
Wow, oh, look at this.
Got some lovely Loch fine langoustines here for you to prep.
Oh, beautiful. It's been really exciting watching everything you build up for Fallachan.
The guys that we've got here are fantastic. Everyone cares. Everyone wants to put good food in the plate.
Yeah.
Cares about where things are sourced from. And being in Scotland, we have such an unbelievable array of produce.
Yeah.
For me, working and travelling around the planet and then coming back to Scotland and realising the cornucopia of ingredients that everywhere else in the world would love to have on their doorstep.
Absolutely.
And so things like these amazing langoustines.
Well,
and
should probably sit and taste some of this,
probably
right?
sit and eat some.
Aye.
Amazing.
So, aside from having some beautifully cut lion's mane mushrooms,
Oh, that's it.
No.
Very well cooked langoustines as well.
Yeah, oh, I took the tail off, I'm sorry.
Oh, mate.
I know, I've gone and ruined the whole thing.
We need a new one.
This can be mine. I mean, this is a stunning dish. This looks beautiful. What brought you back to Glasgow to open in your restaurant then?
Well, you go to places like Japan and you're visiting Tsukiji Market and they've got produce from Scotland.
100% do.
And you're sort of going, that's from home.
Yeah.
And then when I got back here, I was like, we have so much produce here.
Yeah.
That is just world class. From the game to the wild mushrooms. And you can get wild mushrooms in Scotland all year round. So all these certain things for me, they drew me back. You're kind of proud of what we have here.
Yeah.
And you kind of feel like you're tapping into something that's secret, that no one else is utilising.
Yeah. Even under the rumble of the occasional overhead train, the setting is exquisite. However, I want to learn how Craig uses foraging to find such incredible ingredients.
It was kind of a little bit of a kind of meditation in motion to go out and pick a lot of mushrooms in a green place, you know?
It's the kind of the therapeutic nature of being out in nature.
Yeah.
Also, that sense of not only satisfaction, but there's that primal sense of joy of going, I've discovered or I've captured this like wonderful, thank you, bounty of incredible ingredients.
When I grew up in the Highlands was, the sea was there.
Yeah.
The shore was there, but the mountains were there. The fields were there, the forest was there. So I think being able to tap back into that, the wild flora and fauna of the country, I was like, wow, this cuisine of Scotland it's world class and we can basically pluck what we want.
With the evening coming to a close and the crew being treated to some of the best modern Scottish fare around, there's still one more course for me to almost ruin.
So piping from the top, using your fingers to guide, lean over it like so, yep, exactly. Start at the bottom and come away.
Oh, I've gone high. Go more on the next one, eh? Why have I also gone into... We've got a little nubbin and a boob of a meringue. Morning in Scotland means one very important thing, and that's kicking off the day with a proper Scottish delicacy of a morning roll, the ideal breakfast on the go. And the best place for it is Hutch, a hole-in-the-wall cafe in the centre of the historic Barras Market, owned by the unofficial mayor of Glasgow, Andy Gemmell. Hello, mate.
How you doing?
Great to see you.
Welcome to Hutch.
Thanks. This is mega. I'm so excited to be able to kick off with a morning roll.
First question, and there isn't really a right answer for this, it's soft or crispy, but I've gave you crispy, so you've got no choice in the matter at all. And I went for a wee square sausage, the only country on the planet where you get a square sausage from.
I also don't understand why nobody else has done square sausage.
It's amazing,
Yeah.
and it's the best way to start the day. Breakfast is a massive part of Glasgow and Scotland as well. Maybe not the healthiest.
Whenever I'm back up here, because you can't get this anywhere else.
No.
You can't get haggis and tatty scones in other parts of the world. But there's also something really special about being able to come back here and have it because it's phenomenal.
I think if you go to a lot of different countries, Mexico or Japan, where you've been, like, they're so proud of their, you know, their culture and their cuisine, and I think now Scotland's going through that part where it's kind of going, do you know what? We've got stuff we're proud of and we're able to talk about it. It's not in our nature to do that.
Yeah.
We're not showy sort of people all the time, but it's starting to come through as a kind of culture. We're prouder of what we stand for.
Right, this looks amazing. I can't wait to tuck into this. Let's grab rolls and take it one day.
Let's do it.
Oh, mega.
Oh, mate.
Right, this is the perfect start, yeah.
Oh, good, mate.
It's also a real treat to be in the Barras when it's closed. Like, this is amazing.
I've fallen in love with the whole area, to be honest with you. I mean, it's not just the fact it's 102 years old and everything else. It's going through an evolution.
Yeah.
Not a gentrification.
Yeah.
It's going through an evolution at the moment. So there's this sort of like old school and new school meeting.
Yeah.
Which can be a beautiful thing when it happens, and it is starting to happen, and it's going to take time. But I mean, this was like Barras Market 25 years ago, probably.
Right? So, I mean, this is incredible to be part of that community aspect is so crucial in this city, right? Like, it's part of the Glaswegian character.
Yeah, I mean, Glasgow's like, I always call it one of the loyalist cities in the world, as in, I think that once you're in with a Glaswegian or in with Glasgow, you're in.
Yeah.
But it takes a bit of work.
Sure.
We can be quite a stubborn city. That's where the food and drink scene, I think, kind of stuttered a little bit for many years. It's like when a restaurant brand comes up here and everyone from London's going, this is the coolest thing ever, it's come to Glasgow, and the Glaswegians go, is it, aye?
Yeah, it's the best thing
Like, we'll
ever.
tell you if it's cool, just because someone else says this is good.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we're going to like it,
Yeah.
you know, like, just give us, we'll tell you when we're ready.
If I think about Glasgow and, you know, even the contrast from when I was living in Edinburgh, it was such a cool city. Like, it had its own character and, you know, humour. Like, that to me is a big part of Glasgow life as well. Like, the funniest people on the planet.
I don't know if you remember the late great Anthony Bourdain when he came to Glasgow. We actually got this slogan right across Hutch, kind of summarises Glasgow.
Yeah.
Glasgow is maybe the most bullshit-free place on earth. They call it, he likes to call it the antidote to the rest of the world. And I think what's really funny is most of the people in here think that says artichoke. So I just, and I've not told them any different. So I just left it as artichoke.
Glasgow is the gateway to the rest of Scotland, making it super easy to explore the rest of this beautiful country. So right now, I'm on my way north to the Highlands. Inverness is a historic city, with human settlements here dating back to 6000 BC. But nowadays, it's known for its iconic castle, which features in Shakespeare's Macbeth, and as being the capital of the Highlands, with its close proximity to the famous whisky region of Speyside, and of course, Loch Ness. Speyside is one of the most famous whisky regions in all the world, with a huge concentration of distilleries. But I'm here to show you that there's so much more you can discover. So I'm taking a quick 20-minute trip out of Inverness in the opposite direction and into the Highlands whisky region. The Glen Ord Whisky Distillery is nestled in the heart of the Black Isle Peninsula and has been since 1838. It's now home of the Singleton, who last year won the world's best whisky distillery tour, and I'm excited to find out why. Yes.
How are you, man? What's happening?
Ace, this is very cool surroundings to catch up in.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, not your average distillery bar.
It's so great, and I think it's there's all of the hallmarks of it being one of the beautiful old traditional distilleries, but then it's got this kind of wonderful modern touch.
Yeah, it sums up the two sides of the Singleton. We have an old school single malt whiskey production that follows all the classic cues that you would expect, and then the modern side comes from how you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And this is a single malt whiskey that is designed to be enjoyed, yes, neat and to toast occasions and things like that, but also as part of delicious drinks. So I think what we'll do is we'll go show you around the distillery, introduce you to some of the team, show you what makes that kind of house style that I'll have to talk about, maybe even make you drink.
This sounds ideal.
Okay, cool, man. Right, let's go.
I'm keen to learn more about this modern take on a historic whiskey. Kyle, thanks so much. It's so wonderful to be able to be in the still house like this. It's especially with the sun pouring in, it's a very beautiful place to be.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
It's one of my favorite things about whiskey is how much it beds into the community. And you have a familial connection to the Singleton of Glen Ord, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So my family are, at least on my dad's side, they're from this area.
Amazing.
So it feels close to me. But it's my grandfather, especially. He's been working here in different respects since the 1980s.
Oh, amazing.
I found some old helmets and signage in his yard and stuff like that. And he's someone that's really well known on site as well. So it was amazing for me to work in this space and have that connection the whole time as well.
That's really wonderful. So tell me about some of the whiskies that are made here.
Good ones. We make some incredible whiskey and have done for a very long time. But it's also whiskey that is really just packed full of flavor, and that's coming through the unique process that we have here.
Okay, and what's different about the process that ends up happening here?
Well, I think with our whiskey, we're really looking to take our time. I mean, with Scotch whiskey, that's often a given, but we're going to go one step further with that.
Yeah.
And we're going to slow down every step of the process. And we're going to do that through something we call slow craft.
Okay, and what is it that slowing down does?
Be it the mashing, you're going to get more sugars.
Yeah.
If it's fermentation, which is 75 hours every time, we're going to extract more notes of things like dried fruits. We let the yeast work longer. And then when it comes to distillation, we're going to get more heat. We're going to get a bit more spice inside the spirit as well that we have here.
Amazing. So that's very much the philosophy and the ethos of what happens here at Singleton.
Absolutely. It's something we've been doing for a long time, working on it, perfecting it to the point that we are now.
It's time to taste the Singleton and see how the slowing down of processes affects the flavour. But before I do, I'm being treated to a taste of a very special experimental cask. Wow, look at the colour on this.
Here, this is a mezcal cask. Slange, cheers.
Cheers.
It's really unusual for a non-peated whiskey to have such a kind of smoky character, but...
That is mad.
Yeah, it's a lovely balance. I think with a lot of kind of experimental casks, you don't know how it's going to turn out, but this one's been really lucky with this one anyway.
That's amazing. Oh, that's great. So when you're welcoming people to either distillery, actually in whiskey in general, how do you like to be able to kind of get them to kind of be introduced to the category?
And whenever I do tastings, I tend to like let everyone know that they can actually do it.
Yeah.
And obviously this works, the Singleton works perfectly because it has that flavour profile that everyone can detect.
Yeah.
The spikes of flavour, they all jump out, and it's just showing people, because the hardest thing is putting it into words.
Yeah.
Everyone can smell, everyone can taste, so it's just using really simple, approachable language, and it helps when you have a single malt that everyone finds enjoyable.
So, beautiful single malt whiskey, how do you feel about it being mixed in a cocktail?
I love it.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, whenever I see a single malt on the menu, I want to hear about the process, I want to hear about why, I want to hear if they tell the story of the place, because great single malt is a product of a place and it's the product of people. And if you are able to, in an amazing bar anywhere around the world, tell the story of a tiny town in Scotland, like, it's so cool. And
absolutely.
I mean, it's like, we get a bit of a
absolutely. Yeah. And it's what's so exciting in whiskey at the moment, right? Being able to look at it in that modern lens and understand that actually whiskey's always been mixed, but in like a way that we can like think about it in the modern day and actually present this is what's happening in Scotland, and actually you're seeing it in bars around the world.
It's cocktail menu dynamite, right? It's got the story, it's got the unique flavour profile, and it's just about kind of telling a story across the bar.
At the end of my adventure around Scotland, I'm going to create a cocktail inspired by my trip, using ingredients and ideas that I've picked up along the way. Irvin has kindly gifted me a bottle of 18-year-old The Singleton, which will make a great cocktail base. I've managed to pick up some incredible whiskey, but I need something similarly superlative for my Scotland-inspired cocktail. And given the landscape here, there's some really magical ingredients to choose from. But there's something extra special that'll be the real bee's knees. Wow, the noise is amazing. Wow.
Right, let's start your beekeeping experience now.
This is quite something.
You want to have a hold?
Oh, wow. It's warm.
Every hive is 32 degrees.
That is crazy.
Winter, summer, everything.
As a young biology student, I did my paper on social insects.
Right.
And I was amazed by bees, and you watch them like this, and you see them interact, and it's beautiful to see them kind of dance together.
Well, they do a special dance to tell the other bees where the nectar is and where the pollen is. You know, so they'll go in and do their figure of 8 dance, and they'll tell, that tells them the direction when the sun's out, and they can go back and forth, and collect their nectar.
And obviously, it's super crucial, both as, a thing to protect because they're beautiful creatures, but they're also very important for our environment.
Well, if we don't have bees, we're not going to have any fruit, no flowers, or anything like that. So we need bees to survive.
Yeah. So I'm a absolute honey obsessive. Tea and honey are the things that I think are some of the most magical products.
Yeah.
And you find such variance in the kind of aromas.
Yeah.
So what is it about Inverness honey that makes it so special?
We've got the best heather moors in the world. Scottish heather honey is the best in the world because it's the most organic honey you can get, because the heather moors have never been touched with chemicals for thousands of years.
Right.
The heather honey is a very strong, robust honey that it's quite different from a blossom honey. A blossom honey is a light honey, light flavour, as a heather honey is dark and rich, and catches your throat. If you take a nice spoonful, it catches your breath, and it is the best honey in the world, I think. And it's also, if you happen to burn yourself, put honey in your hand and it gets rid of the burn.
Oh, amazing.
You don't get blisters.
Magical product.
Yeah, honey is an amazing product.
Watching Nigel and his bees hard at work is truly captivating. But speaking as a self-appointed honey geek, I have to say that this is like no honey I've ever had before. That's incredible. God, the journey of the flavour here, though, you're not just getting sweetness. I think that's the interesting thing.
It's a flavour.
Absolutely. And that, obviously, there's that waxy kind of unctuousness to it as well. This is incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. Nigel has gifted me 2 types of honey, 1 blossom honey and 1 heather honey. 2 great ingredients to add to my Scotland-inspired cocktail that I'll be making at the end of my trip.
Here's a wee present for you, Ryan. Some honey,
Thank
blossom
you.
honey, heather honey. Hope you enjoy.
Thank you. One of the wonderful things you often discover when you're traveling around is these incredible local soft drinks. They're things that have been part of the landscape, often born out of the culture and the ingredients, much in the same way like a country's favorite spirit. And one of the wonderful ones from Scotland was barley water. It's an incredible local kind of cordial that's a great thing to be able to kind of lengthen soft drinks, but it's also a great ingredient to add body, texture, and this aromatic to your non-alcoholic cocktails. We're going to use some oats to do a little take on a barley cordial. Roughly chop up some fresh ginger. And with that, we're also going to use a little bit of cranberry sauce. So something that's got a little bit of sweetness and acidity already in it. We're going to use some rolled oats, some fresh thyme to give it a little bit of a greenness, and top this off with some boiling water. We're going to use this cafetiere as a quick way of brewing it and extracting all the aromatics. And what we'll end up with is this kind of wonderful oat cordial using some of the cranberry, the thyme, the ginger aromatics. I'm going to use it in a nice chilled highball alongside some non-alcoholic spirits. I'm going to use some of our non-alcoholic seedlip spice alongside our oats cordial. Quick stir just to make sure everything's incorporated. Lots of ice to give it journey and length. And then we're going to crown it with some chilled soda water. We're going to garnish this, a little bit of kind of fresh citrus on the top. It's really refreshing. It's got lots of length to it. It feels just as adult as having any other highball, your gin and tonic, your whiskey soda. It's a wonderful way to be able to kick back with friends. Cheers. I've long maintained that Scotland is the most beautiful country in the world. One of the things that always astounds me is the breadth of landscapes it has within it. From white sandy beaches, to snow-capped mountains, to glacial lakes, it really has everything. Oh man, this is so great. If I lost my glasses, then I'd be really screwed. Now, Loch Ness is so huge, no wonder there's only been a few accounts of people spotting the famous Loch Ness monster. In fact, Loch Ness contains more water than all of the lakes, the rivers, the reservoirs of England and Wales combined. So maybe we'll hang here and wait for Nessie to come to us. It's a beautiful place to be able to kick back, a gorgeous sunset, a nip in hand. Slange. Right, so I'm on the move again, and I'm now heading to a very special part of Scotland. I've arrived on Islay. It's taken a train, a plane, and an automobile to get me here, but I've made it to one of the whiskey capitals of the world. This is top of every whiskey lover's bucket list, with people traveling from all over the world to make it here. There are 10 operational distilleries, with 4 more in the works, all on this tiny 240 square mile island with a population of a little over than 3,000. Let's settle into island life, grab a dram, and get exploring. Islay is traditionally known for its peaty and smoky whiskies, due to the peat bogs you can see whilst travelling across the island. However, peatiness is often something that's quite misunderstood, often lumped into one flavour category when it could be so much more nuanced and can go way beyond simply the idea of smokiness. There's even some unpeated expressions on this island, and the inclusion of peat can be really varied. I'm about to go discover real masters of the use of peat, and I'm going to go visit a distillery that really expresses this in such an interesting way. I'm heading to Lagavulin Distillery. Hi, Karen.
Hello. Lovely to meet you. Well,
Thank
welcome.
you. What a gorgeous day for it.
Yeah, you've been really lucky, so
know.
thanks for bringing the good weather with you, and welcome to Lagavulin.
Thank you. And obviously this is not a young distillery. It's been here for quite a while, right?
It's not. There's an amazing amount of history here. So yeah, Lagavulin was legally established in 1816 by a local chap called Jim Johnson, who was a farmer. Yeah, so a long time ago.
And whiskey's obviously, being on Islay, it's a huge part of the island as well, right?
It's massive.
Yeah.
So there's obviously many distilleries on Islay, so it's good, healthy competition between us all. It's a special place to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things I've always loved about the whiskey industry. It's, you know, people work in them for generations, and it's a big part of the community.
I'm lucky enough to say I was brought up in the village of Lagavulin, just across the bay.
So you're an Iliac?
Yeah, I'm an Iliac.
And it's a beautiful thing about whiskey. You know, you can travel and you can drink this everywhere from, you know, New York to Sydney and everywhere in between. And that whiskey carries a little bit of Islay to it. But I think coming here, seeing where it's made and meeting the people behind it I think that's it's a very special trip to be able to do.
It's really good. It's really special.
I want to learn more about what makes this world-renowned whiskey so special. Kirsten, you're part of the production team here, so you're actually making this super iconic whiskey.
Yes, I am very proud of that.
That's amazing.
But yeah, we run it from grain to cask, as we say, so from taking the malt in, going all the way right through the stills till we fill the tanker and send it away.
And how long have you been here then?
So I've been doing this job for just over 1.5 years,
awesome.
And on Islay for 2.5 years.
So what brought you to Islay? Yeah, I mean...
This. Lagavulin is one of my favourite distilleries. So to get the job here was just an absolute dream. And Islay is it's the place to be for whiskey. So I feel forever thankful to be here.
So what is it about the way that you produce things that leads to Lagavulin as its own style?
So the grain arrives with us, it's already peated. We do 30 mashes a week. We fill up 8 washbacks. They are fermented for about 55 to 65 hours, which is quite a short fermentation compared to other distilleries. And then we run it through our 4 stills, and we do that for 11 hours. So that's one of the longest.
That's a slow distillation.
Yeah, that's a really long distillation, which gives amazing copper contact and creates that beautiful, smooth Lagavulin finish.
And the peat itself, so you're using local peat, is that right?
Yeah. Just from up the hill.
Amazing.
You guys will have driven through Port Ellen today. It permeates the smells everywhere on Islay. It's the smell of Islay. Yeah. And the thing is, you get peat up in the Highlands. It's a very different peat to what we have here. This is surrounded by salty air, so there's that maritime saltiness that goes into the peat, which then transfers across into the spirit and the end product.
Amazing. So it's not just the weather battering the distillery and the warehouse. It's literally growing through from the peat itself.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's incredible. So this magical material is peat. So when we were at Singleton, we had an unpeated spirit. Whereas when you come across those smokier styles of whiskey, particularly like you get on Islay, the whiskey is made and that smokiness is coming using this material. The island's covered in the stuff. So as you're driving along, you're driving over these peat bogs. And these are deep in the ground. You take off the top layers of turf and you have these wonderful materials that have been decomposed and condensed into this incredible fuel. And because it's packed full of all of the things that are part of this landscape, it takes on a certain terroir to it. It gives this wonderful, complex character that is so signature to a lot of the whiskies that we'll find on this island. The smell of sea salt and peat in the air is a beautiful thing to experience. However, I want to taste how that translates into the famous Lagavulin whiskey. Well, this is very delicious.
It really is. So we've got our delicious spicy margarita. So we've swapped out the smoky mezcal for our lovely Lagavulin Scotch.
It's always been one of my favourite things. Of course, a neat dram's amazing, but being able to help people understand it, open out those flavours, a cocktail's such a great way to introduce people to it.
Absolutely. I think a cocktail now is a really good way. We have lots of whiskey enthusiasts to come to visit us here, but we also have people that are new to whiskey.
Yeah.
So it can be a way of, you know, bringing whiskey to people's lives. So
especially when it's this delicious. Cocktails are, of course, a great way to experience spirits in different ways. But there's something so special in tasting whiskey neat in the distillery where it's made. So actually some of my favourite memories of being able to drink this dram are being able to visit Islay. And I think being able to be by the coast, get that sea spray coming in, or trying in the warehouse where it's a little colder and you start to reveal different sides of it, but you start to then remember those, you pick it up when you go back to the whiskey, and you could be anywhere and you're transported back to Islay. I mean, it's incredible. What a beautiful dram. I'm coming to the end of my taste trip around Scotland, and Karen has kindly gifted me a bottle of 16-year-old Lagavulin for my Scotland-inspired cocktail. However, I still feel like I need a couple more ingredients. And thanks to an old friend of mine, I've got an idea of how to get some. We're actually off to Islay after this, and I know you've spent a lot of time on the island. And do you have any favourite ingredients that you used to love to pick up from there?
Yeah, there's some great shoreline ingredients just now that you'll actually be able to pick. Don't eat the hemlock. Don't end up like Socrates.
If you're not up to date on your Greek philosophy, this face should tell you all you need to know. However, foraging is a great way to pick up some brilliant ingredients, as long as you stay away from the hemlock, of course. We have these very pretty primroses, so you can use the young leaves almost like a salad leaf. But what we're going to look for is these beautiful, very delicate flowers, and they're going to give this wonderful, like soft, kind of buttery, vanilla-y, sweet accent. So everybody might know them as being a little bit bothersome, but actually nettles are a wonderful ingredient and a very traditional foodstuff. So they're an amazing way of being able to either make a great soup or accent some of your cocktails. So it's helpful to have a pair of gloves because, yes, they can kind of sting a little bit, but what we're looking to be able to pull out is actually this incredible, almost peach, elderflowery, fruity note that you can still extract from the leaves. So I'm very fortunate to have some knowledge of these local landscapes and have a bit of experience with some foraging. But the key is not only seeking out these wonderful foods, these incredible ingredients, and celebrating the biodiversity, it's also really important to be careful. You want to be able to make sure you're looking up the right backgrounds, a lot of the research and the resources to help guide you. So it's probably best to get a little bit of extra help. Isn't that right, Tom? Now, it's not only plant life, which there is an abundance of on Islay. One of the best things to do here is have some fresh seafood delivered to you, right on the beachfront. Grab a dram and pass some time taking it all in. Whenever I meet anybody when I'm traveling around the world, I often talk about how the fact that Scotland is the most beautiful country on the planet. It really has this incredible allure to it. And when I was living here, I lived here for 7 years, it really kind of captivated in all of these ways. The beautiful landscapes, the incredible humour, but it's really when you get to spend time with the people here and you understand this incredible connection they have to these wonderful histories. You know, you have whiskies dating back 200 years in their heritage, but this modern side of Scotland that's really looking to push things forward. And, you know, we saw it visiting Craig, seeing some of the way that, you know, he taps into his connection to the landscapes, but being able to walk into the Singleton and looking at this idea of the way that whiskies move forward as the world has evolved. It was incredible to visit Lagavulin, one of the most iconic whiskies of the world, the distillery that so many people travel all the way across the world to come and visit. Of course, getting a hug off Big Frank and understanding how do you connect people to these really special liquids? How do you make it accessible? How do you help people understand how much is going on trapped in these little golden gems of liquid? So it's been absolutely wonderful to be back. Out on the beach on Islay, dram of Lagavulin in hand, this incredible seafood, but it's got to be shared with friends. You got to eat a snail.
Eat a snail?
I'm now back on the mainland in Glasgow for my final showpiece, making a cocktail inspired by the things I've seen and learned this past week. We're here at the Gate, one of my favourite bars in the world, looked over by one of my old mentors, very dear friend, Gemmell, and I really wanted to contrast the different approaches that we saw, the different flavours, and actually really celebrating the different occasions in which you could enjoy one of these wonderful drams. So I'm going to present 2 different drinks and really kind of celebrate these ideas of these whiskies, all of the people and the stories that have gone into them, but also try and talk about this unexpected flavour, these different takes on Scotland that we've really noticed across the journey. So I'm going to start on the Lagavulin side, which you might think is going to lean towards more of that kind of richer brooding style of drink. But actually beyond the smoke is really this wonderful elegance, these floral notes, a lot of citrus, and of course this coastal sea spray. On the other side, the Singleton had these wonderful orchard fruit notes. I found loads of plum and peach and this brightness to the whiskey. But as it starts to mature and get into the more venerable ages, so an 18-year-old whiskey, it has much more of this golden spice. And we're going to start with our bitters. So on the brighter side of things with the Lagavulin, we're going to use just some orange bitters. So a couple of dashes of these. On the other side, we're going to use some Angostura bitters, but we've infused that with some of the botanicals we're able to forage around with Tom. So So we have some of the golden saxifrage, we have a little bit of dandelion, picking up some of those nuttier notes, a little bit of spice that really works beautifully to pull out the richer notes from the whiskey. So just a couple of dashes of our bitters. And then we're going to take it in different directions for this using the different honeys we picked up from Nigel. So on this side, we're going to use the blossom honey, and this again plays to some of those elegant floral notes that are in Lagavulin. So I've been able to infuse the blossom honey with some of the primrose that we were able to gather, but we've also cut it with tea that we've made from the fresh nettle. And simply, we're brewing a tea with the nettles, and then we're mixing 3 parts of honey to 1 part of our tea. And we're just going to use 2 teaspoons or 10 mils of our honey. And on the other side, we've got our wonderful kind of our chestnutty, richer style heather honey. So this is really pulling out those notes from the moors, those things that the bees are foraging where it gets really concentrated and rich. So this is simply 3 parts of the honey broken down in a little bit of hot water. So it's easier to pour, easier to mix in. Again, 2 teaspoons, 10 mils, just under half an ounce. So our Lagavulin 16, again, of course the smoke is there, but it's wonderful and bright. So 50 mils, and exactly the same thing on the other side. So 15 mils of our Singleton 18. So not churning it out, want to keep the silky texture of each of the whiskies. So stirred over ice. And we're going to strain these over a nice hunk of ice in a very, very cold glass. Just pouring this over a large block, and then being able to kind of celebrate that with one of these beautiful primroses that we were able to forage. And then really looking to some of that kind of richer herbal note on our Singleton side. So we have our coastal old-fashioned, really looking at some of those sea spray notes that you get, the olive, the floral notes, this wonderful gentian characteristic, all of those aspects that are so wonderful in Lagavulin. And ditto on the other side with our Singleton serve. So our bothy old-fashioned, something where you can kind of reach that little bit of a snug, somewhere where you can kind of hunker down with a drink where it's got this wonderful warmth that sits around it, celebrating that spice, but opening up that fruitiness as you drink through it. It's a wonderful way to be able to celebrate not only the incredible produce that this country has. You know, I've talked about being the most beautiful country on the planet. It has these incredible ingredients to celebrate, but it's really about the people and the stories behind them. You know, there was so much to discover, so much passion that went into all of these things that really represents the modern side of Scotland. Slam.
Fallachan, go Alva, welcome to Scotland.
Must do things in Inverness. Loch Ness, probably. You gotta go find the monster, right?
I live in Loch Ness, nice and easy, all the time.
You still have a monster there, yes.
In Glasgow, you can go into any pub and you'll come out with the best pal and probably a job at the same time.
One day I'll be fired from my outtakes. This is so good.